The plastic bowl of icy water hit Joe's face like a slap from reality itself. Get up. Useless boy. His mother's voice cut through the early morning darkness like a machete through sugarcane. Joe coughed violently, his eyes burning as he scrambled up from the cold floor. Water dripped from his hair, soaking through his worn shirt. For a split second he forgot where he was. Then everything came rushing back. The cracked ceiling, the smell of dampness, the generator hum from outside, and his mother standing over him with that look. That look that said he was nothing. That look that reminded him every single day that he had failed. You're still sleeping by this time? Mama Joe slammed the empty bowl on the rickety table. Are you waiting for success to come and knock on your door? Joe's chest tightened. Mama, I barely slept. I got home very late yesterday. And so? She scoffed, her voice dripping with contempt. Is it my business? If you didn't drop out of school, maybe you wouldn't be suffering like this. The words landed like punches. Joe rose slowly, his wet shirt clinging to his skin, making him feel even more pathetic. Mama, I'm sorry. I didn't want to drop out. The money wasn't enough. I tried to. Shut up. Her hand flew up. Every day, it's one excuse after another. Your mates are graduating. Some are even getting jobs. You're here, snoring like a generator with bad plug. Joe's throat burned, but he stayed quiet. What could he say? She was right, wasn't she? He had dropped out. He had failed. And now he was living proof that dreams don't come true for people like him. She stormed out, muttering under her breath. God, what did I do to deserve this? Joe stood there dripping, breathing, trying not to break. He wanted to scream. He wanted to run away and never come back. But instead, he exhaled slowly and picked up his wet blanket from the floor. Another day. Another chance to prove he wasn't completely worthless. He walked outside to the small provisions shop, the same shop his mother had run for over 20 years. She was already there, slamming tins of milk and hissing with irritation. When she saw him approach, she clicked her tongue. Oya, open the door. Customers will soon start coming. You're the one delaying me. Yes, Mama. The rusty shutters groaned as he opened them. He could feel eyes on him immediately. Neighbors watching, women gossiping, children pointing. Since he dropped out, the entire neighborhood had turned him into entertainment. The boy who couldn't finish school. The failure. As he took his position behind the counter, Mama Joe sent him a sharp look. I don't know why I'm even still tolerating you here. If not because business is slow and I need help. But let me not deceive myself. What help can a dropout even give? Mama, please, Joe whispered. Stop calling me that. Did you finish school? No, but. Then shut up. Silence fell like a heavy curtain. Joe bit his lip so hard he tasted blood. Minutes crawled by until a plump woman with an enormous handbag walked in. Do you have golden penny semolina? She asked, scanning the shelves. Mama Joe answered quickly. We have. Joe's stomach dropped. Mama, we finished it yesterday. His mother's eyes blazed with fury. Must you disgrace me every day? Go and check well. I checked yesterday, he said carefully. You said you'll restock today. The customer shifted uncomfortably as Mama Joe hissed loudly. We don't have. Come back later. After the woman left, his mother turned to him with venom in her voice. You see, you're chasing customers away. If I allow you, you will scatter my shop the same way you scattered your education. Joe clenched his fists under the counter. Mama, I didn't scatter anything. You're talking back? She raised her hand. He flinched instinctively. People outside paused to watch. The humiliation burned through him like acid. She lowered her hand but pointed a stern finger at him. Don't provoke me today. I'm not in the mood. All morning Joe worked like a machine. Sweeping, arranging, dealing with impatient customers. And his mother kept finding new ways to remind him he was a disappointment. He spoke only when necessary, swallowed every insult, and tried to make himself invisible. But by noon, something happened that shattered what was left of his dignity. Two women entered, the neighborhood's most notorious gossipers. They came often not to buy, but to feast on other people's pain. "Ha! Mama Joe!" one of them shouted. "Where's your fine boy? The one that dropped out?" Mama Joe pointed at Joe carelessly. "There he is. You see him? He's the reason my blood pressure is rising every day." The women burst into laughter that echoed through the shop. "Ah, he looks tired, oh. Maybe because he's doing the job of 20 intelligent people," one teased. "Or maybe school stress never calmed his body," the other added, smirking directly at Joe. Joe pretended to rearrange packets of noodles, but his hands trembled. His vision blurred. He wanted to disappear into the floor. When they finally left, Mama Joe leaned close and whispered, "You see your life. Even people outside know you're a failure." Something inside Joe cracked. He wanted to walk out and never return. He wanted to shout that he was trying, that he was drowning, that he needed help instead of insults. But nothing came out. Not a word. Not a sound. Later that evening, as they closed the shop, Mama Joe said something that cut deeper than anything else. "If your father had been alive, you won't be this useless. He would have straightened you." Joe froze. She rarely mentioned his father. "And sometimes," she continued sharply, "I regret not sending you to live with his people. Maybe someone would have beaten sense into you." "Mama," Joe's voice shook. "Why are you saying all this? What do you want me to do?" "I want you to stop being a burden." The words hung in the air like smoke. She walked away, leaving him alone with the rattling shutters and the echo of her disappointment. That night, Joe lay awake staring at the ceiling. Every insult, every humiliation, every wound from her tongue. He felt each one like a stone weighing him down. But somewhere beneath the pain, something began to stir. A small flame. He wasn't sure what it was yet. Anger, hope, desperation, but it was alive. And it was growing. The next morning, Joe woke with his muscles aching and his mother's words still burning in his mind. But he refused to stay broken. As he opened the shutters, he noticed the usual morning crowd, some waiting to buy provisions, others whispering about the dropout boy. He took a deep breath and braced himself. "Mama," he called softly, "I want to help more in the shop today. Maybe I can reorganize a little." Mama Joe's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Do you think you can? A dropout? Don't waste my time. I've spent 23 years running this shop without a lazy son in my way." Joe's throat tightened, but he nodded and kept his head low. He started with the shelves, noticing for the first time how expired goods sat ignored, how customers reached for items that weren't there, how empty gaps existed where popular brands should have been. Each small mistake screamed at him. A plan began forming in his mind. "Hey," his mother barked suddenly. "Don't move that. You'll upset the order." Joe paused. "Mama, if we move some items around, people might see everything better. The tins at the back. No one notices them. If we put them at eye level, they'll sell faster." Mama Joe's face twisted with fury. "Do you want to ruin my business? Do you think a dropout can teach me business? Are you mad?" Joe swallowed hard. "I just want to help." "Help? You think you can fix everything with your small mind? You don't know anything about customers, suppliers, or money." She stormed past him, muttering insults. For a moment, Joe considered leaving. The familiar weight of shame pressed on him heavier than any crate he had ever carried. But instead of leaving, he worked silently. He moved goods strategically, rearranged items to make them more visible, and started noting what customers asked for most in a small notebook. Days passed like this. Each suggestion met with suspicion. Each improvement greeted with criticism. "Your ideas will fail," she said repeatedly. "I won't let a dropout make me look foolish." Yet secretly, Mama Joe noticed subtle changes. The first time a customer returned the next day asking for a tin they had bought yesterday, she paused mid-shout, glancing at Joe with a faint flicker of curiosity. One afternoon, she caught him scribbling numbers furiously in his notebook. "What are you doing now?" she snapped. "Tracking sales," Joe replied quietly. "Noticing what sells and what doesn't." Mama Joe laughed harshly. Tracking sales? You're just a boy. Numbers are bigger than you. You'll make mistakes and blame me. I'll try to be careful, he said. His voice firm despite the fear fluttering in his chest.
Weeks crawled by. Slowly, sales started creeping up. Just a few naira at first, but enough to make Mama Joe pause and recalculate. Then one day, Joe had an idea that terrified both of them. Mama, what if we open the shop later in the evening? People work all day. Some can't come here during the day. Her eyes went wide with shock. Evening? You want to invite trouble into this neighborhood? Do you want armed men to kill us? I won't risk it. Mama, I'll handle it, he said softly, refusing to argue. That night, the streets were eerily quiet. Joe unlocked the door with a sense of dread twisting his stomach. He arranged a small table near the entrance and waited. 1 hour passed.
2.
Nothing. Just as he started doubting himself, a tired-looking man in a factory uniform appeared. Then another. And another. By the 3rd hour, a steady stream of customers was buying snacks, drinks, and basic provisions. They were exhausted from work, and the little shop became a haven for them. Mama Joe watched from the doorway, hands on her hips. She muttered, almost to herself, maybe he isn't useless. Joe's confidence grew like a seedling pushing through concrete. The next morning, he suggested something even bolder. Mama, I saw a supplier on Facebook. He's offering goods at prices far below what we're paying now. I think we should check it out. Mama Joe nearly fainted. Are you crazy? That man? Who knows if he's legitimate? You want to lose all my money? I'll check it out, Joe said, his heart hammering against his ribs. If it's real, we can save money and buy more stock. The journey to the supplier was brutal. Joe walked for miles through dusty streets and crowded markets. The supplier's shop looked suspicious. Guarded entrance. Sharp-eyed owner. Joe's palms sweated, but he remembered every insult, every drop of cold water, every mocking word his mother had thrown at him. This is it, he whispered to himself. I either fail like everyone expects, or I prove them wrong. He negotiated fiercely, counting every naira, comparing prices, weighing risks. His voice shook at first, but then something hardened inside him. He refused to be intimidated. Finally, he left with a cartload of goods cheaper than anything they had ever bought. When he returned, Mama Joe inspected the goods with trembling hands, her eyes widening in disbelief. How is this possible? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. You actually did it? Joe smiled faintly, exhaustion written all over his face. I just did what I could, Mama. Nothing more. From that day, the shop began to transform. Customers returned regularly. Word spread through the neighborhood. Slowly, Mama Joe's anger softened. But she still refused to praise him directly. Every compliment from a customer was met with, "It's not him. It's luck. Don't get carried away." Then came the day disaster struck. A heavy storm swept through the neighborhood like God's own fury. Thunder shook the windows. Lightning flashed like camera bulbs. Rain poured like someone had torn open the sky. Joe ran to the shop after hearing shouts from outside.
His heart stopped when he saw it. The roof had collapsed.
Crates of goods floated in puddles. Water everywhere. Mama Joe sat in the corner, drenched and crying like he had never seen before. Everything is gone, she sobbed. All your work, wasted. Joe knelt beside her, pressing his wet hands to hers. Mama, we can fix this. I won't let this stop us. She looked up at him with wild, red eyes. How can you be so calm? You are still useless. Everything you touch fails. Joe's throat burned, but he took a deep breath. Not this time. We start small. Just the essentials. We rebuild. Mama Joe's lips trembled. She wanted to argue, to shout, to accuse him again. But for the first time, she stayed silent. She watched as he carried crates, cleaned puddles, and arranged goods for sale the next morning. Even neighbors who had mocked him now whispered, "That boy, he is not ordinary." Joe worked day and night. He refused to let fear or insult dominate him anymore. Every insult, every mocking word, Every drop of water thrown at him became fuel for the fire growing inside him. He would not fail. Not this time. Little by little, the shop rose again. Not as it had been, but stronger. Joe introduced small delivery routes. He served local schools. He took bulk orders from nearby restaurants. Each small victory felt like a battle won. Mama Joe, though still proud and bitter, began to see the results. Every evening, she would glance at the books, at the customers, at the way Joe handled every problem. And she could not deny the truth anymore. Her son, the dropout, the failure, the burden, was turning their little shop into something remarkable. One evening, as they closed the shutters together, a wealthy-looking man in a suit walked up to them. He had been watching the shop for weeks. "Excuse me," the man said politely. "Are you the owner?" Mama Joe nodded suspiciously.
Yes. Why?
The man smiled. "I represent a distribution company. We've noticed how well your shop is doing despite its size. We'd like to offer you a partnership. We supply goods on credit, you sell, we split profits. Interested?" Mama Joe's mouth fell open. She looked at Joe, who stood quietly beside her, his face calm but his eyes burning with something she had never seen before: confidence. "Mama," Joe said softly, "this is our chance." For the first time in years, Mama Joe didn't argue. She didn't insult him. She didn't call him useless. She simply nodded. Months passed. The partnership flourished. The small shop expanded. More customers came. More orders arrived. Joe's notebooks filled with numbers, strategies, and plans. And slowly, the whispers in the neighborhood changed from mockery to respect. One afternoon, Mama Joe called Joe inside. She handed him a small envelope. "What's this?" he asked. "Open it." Inside was money, more money than he had ever seen in his life. "This is your share," she said quietly. "You earned it." Joe's hands shook. "Mama." She looked away, her voice cracking. "I was wrong about you. I called you useless. I threw water on you. I made you feel like nothing. But you turned my hustle into gold." Tears filled Joe's eyes, but he refused to let them fall. "Mama, I just wanted to make you proud." "You did," she whispered, finally meeting his gaze. "You did." And in that moment, Joe realized something powerful. He had never needed a degree to prove his worth. He had needed something far more valuable: the courage to keep going when everyone, including his own mother, told him he was nothing. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to subscribe, drop a comment below, and hit that like button. Share this with someone who needs to hear that their past doesn't define their future. Because sometimes the greatest success stories come from the most unexpected places. And sometimes the real heir isn't born. He's forged in fire, shame, and relentless determination.